I started a web development and application development company. And this was really just me and one other person that I hired in the beginning.
When did you start to think, you know what, maybe it's time for me to start looking at a sale here?
Well, I had a couple of factors that weighed on me when I was considering the sale. I mean, number one, I've been doing this for over 2 decades. And the original business that I started is no longer the business that we were operating today. I did not start a digital marketing company. I started a web development company that became a digital marketing company because of that. I also was dealing with some health issues. The workload was like the water coming up and being right here. And it really meant to go from where we were to remaining competitive now and in the future was going to take somebody that wasn't dealing with some health issues on the side, holding them back. So I said, it might be time to start looking for somebody that wants to continue the vision that I started to build and take it to, phase two. I was interested in looking to sell, but I wasn't 100% convinced. I needed to make sure that if the sale was going to happen, then I needed to make sure that the buyer was going to be the right type of buyer, that they were not going to just take my employees and throw them out on the street. They were going to value the customers that I had and try to build on what I had built.
And then what are the first steps to making that happen?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story because I was actually on a bicycle ride, a mountain bike ride with a good friend of mine that owns another digital marketing company. He goes, do you know this guy named Gene Sower? And I said, no. He goes, well, he owns Samson Media and he just sold his company. He says, would you like me to introduce you to him to talk to somebody that has already gone through the experience? It is an amazing way to educate yourself. So fortunately, Gene was successful in selling his business. He had a positive experience with the broker that he used and was able to kind of prep me and even introduce me to Paul Volen at Website Closers. So that's where the introduction came from. Paul actually was the broker that helped close Gene's sale. And at that point, it was an introduction and it was a phone call. And I wanted to see what was involved and what needed to be done. It took me about a year to finally convince myself that, yes, I was ready to sell. I wanted to sell. And in working with those early discussions with Paul, kind of using that year of time where I was deciding what I was going to do to make sure that everything in the company was groomed and prepped for presentation and to make sure that it looked attractive. It's not only the finances, making sure that your books are readable and that they're accurate, but that you also have identified the strengths and the weaknesses of your own company. It's not just one thing, it's the combination of the entire package. And you may not identify all of those weaknesses yourself because it's your business. You sometimes need somebody else to come out on the outside and look and say, what about this? This is something that you may want to adjust or prepare for.
So Paul takes a look at your business, right, and then puts it out into the market. Is that how it worked?
Well, I think that one of the first things is he wanted to review the financials. Let's take a look at these numbers and get a sense of what your business is worth. I had no clue. And there are different strategies out there for coming up with a price or a value, whether you use an online tool or this and that. I mean, the bottom line is they're all wrong. and and the price is that you're going to get what it is that you get based on the quality of your business, the market conditions, and that combination of the last 3 or 4 years of track record of your company, how it works. but that number can vary as well, depending on the size of your company and market conditions and things of that sort. So, in going through that exercise of looking at the financials, that was also an opportunity for Paul to go in and say, "Can you explain this? And we need to make sure that this is readable by an accountant, because if the numbers are not good in the sense of everything being organized and documented and explainable, you have to assume that somebody else is going to uncover that. So you might as well be prepared early in the game." And that was something Paul was extremely helpful with. I mean, it was almost like he was an accountant coming in and reviewing the numbers and making suggestions of things that we needed to do to get everything organized, and then make sure that we would have supporting documentation going back throughout the following 3 or 4 years to support that. So it's the whole package, making every piece of the company try to look as attractive as it can, based on what you have to work with, really.
Yeah. It's like,
And sometimes it makes sense to correct those if you feel that they're going to be detrimental to the sale before actually putting it out there.
yeah, it's like getting audited, but in a positive way. Um,
Yeah, or before, getting audited by somebody who's not gonna
right.
penalize you for the
Yeah.
outcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, how did you decide on a buyer?
I would like to sort of compliment Paul on his vetting process, because it can be very time consuming and stressful to be doing all these interviews, because they're also happening while you're running the business, while you're keeping it secretive from your employees. And you're also supposed to be making sure sales are continuing to go up and that everybody's happy. So it's one of the most difficult processes that I think a business owner is going to go through. It's more challenging than just running your business, because now you've got an entire another set of responsibilities put on your plate. Paul was able to vet these people financially. Do they have the money to afford it? And when I say that, there's an asking price. They may in their mind always have an idea they're only going to offer so much, but Paul wanted to verify that regardless of where that final number came to, that they were qualified. Number two, did they meet the criteria that I was looking for in a prospective buyer? Meaning that, are they interested in just coming in, buying my customers, and getting rid of the staff, getting rid of my, everything. And so,
Yeah.
but Paul was very helpful in that process, and he would set the interviews up. They were all Zoom interviews, and he was on every one of those Zoom interviews with me as kind of a silent participant. But if and when necessary, he would chime in to make sure that the conversation stayed on topic and on focus within the time frame. I really like the new owners. I like the general manager. So that's important too. And I think there's a mutual level of respect both directions. So it's worked out better than I could have
That's
hoped, to
amazing.
be honest.
What a perfect
Yeah.
partner that Paul and Website Closers was able to find. It's like a great fit. Well, Daniel Bauer,
Mhm.
congratulations on your success. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for your time. Appreciate the opportunity.